Today's vlog is going to be all about water. We're taking a subject upon ourselves that is very difficult and very important at the same time. We're asking the tough questions. Is it still safe to drink tap water in US? Is it better for our health to drink bottled water versus tap water? And what is better for our environment? Should we act environmentally responsibly and stay with tap water but then really risk our health? Or is drinking bottled water actually the health risk? This whole subject is very confusing, and we're going to try to do our best to come up with some answers and figure out what is going on with the water industry. Today's episode is actually inspired by one of the comments that were left on our recent video by Michael Roberts. Michael, you are one of our most consistent viewers and commenters, which is something we really deeply appreciate. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much it means to us. But just for the fairness of the discussion, you are saying in your comment, I only drink tap water. Many studies have shown that bottled water is of lower quality than tap water. Municipal standards for tap water are much higher than for bottled water.
He also wrote, plus bottled water companies are self-regulated, which just means that all they care about is profit. So quality is no concern of all.
And then further into the comment, situations like Flint and Walkerton, Ontario, where thousands of people got sick and a few died, are so rare. Again, thank you so much for watching our show and leaving this comment, but unfortunately we couldn't disagree anymore. The situations where people get poisoned by city water are not that rare, unfortunately. It's like this with tap water. We can drink it and think everything's fine, even though if your local authorities assure you that everything's fine, until this happens.
The quality of Chicago water is under attack tonight. A new class action lawsuit claims the city is actually causing lead to seep into the water supply.
Researchers at Harvard University looked into America's drinking water to see whether or not there are unsafe levels of unregulated chemicals in our tap water. And what they found was, unsurprisingly, of course there is.
Across the country, nearly 2,000 drinking water systems serving 6 million people have failed lead tests since 2012.
The water crisis in Flint, Michigan has certainly gripped the nation's attention and drawn outrage over how something as devastating as widespread lead poisoning could even happen today. Since the start of the crisis in Flint, however, residents of other U.S. cities have started crying out over water quality issues that have gone ignored.
On top of that, we have a situation from our personal lives that Blondie can relate to.
I lived for a very long time in a neighborhood in Delaware that was built on a Superfund site that was being monitored and cleaned up by the EPA. And they said, oh, everything is great. The ground it's not cleaned because they can't possibly clean it up. They just kind of cover it up, and then they continue to test the waters and say whether or not they're healthy or not. So on one hand, they'll say there are still these levels of chemicals.
Who is they?
The government, the EPA. The EPA will still say there are these levels of chemicals, but we believe them to be safe enough for human consumption. But how do they know what is safe enough for human consumption? In my opinion, anything unnatural like that is not safe enough for human consumption. I know that there are naturally occurring elements like that in the water, even the healthiest spring water, but these aren't naturally occurring elements. They were dumped chemicals by a manufacturing company. And the problem in Delaware is there are so many plants, so many manufacturing companies like DuPont.
According to recent scientific research, the chemical known as C8 is now in the blood of 99.7% of all Americans.
Hercules that used to be there, Dow Chemical.
And the problem is, Tom, that nothing filters it out. It has an affinity for water. So in West Virginia, there's a DuPont plant called Washington Works, which for decades discharged hundreds of thousands of pounds of C8 into the air and into the Ohio River.
If you look at a map of the United States, you can see concentrations of cancer in certain areas of the United States. And I just have to think that, like, if cancer were a completely genetic disease without any environmental cause, then why is cancer concentrated in certain areas?
So we don't have a proof that all those cancer cases depend strictly on water, but let's face it, water is one of the main elements in our bodies.
And that's really bad news because C8 has been connected with, among other things, rectal cancer, testicular cancer, swelling of the liver, and birth defects.
Aren't we like 80% water, humans? Plus, we drink water every day. It has to have an impact. And if someone's drinking poisoned water or water that has possibly severe impact on their health for 16 years and then gets cancer, again, we cannot say that this is the direct link with 100% certainty, but it's just a little too coincidental.
Another factor is the water company did end up finding out that there were higher chemicals in that water than there should have been, higher ratios of chemicals in that water than there should have been, and they ended up having to install $1 million filtration system on the water to fix that problem. But how long do people drink that water before they notice it? I know they test water quite a bit, and call me jaded, I don't trust companies whose sole goal is to make money to watch out for people until they could possibly get in trouble for it. For example, look at DuPont in West Virginia. People were telling them, this isn't right, the cattle are dying on the property where you're dumping this disgusting toxic chemical, and they tried to cover it up. So who knows what else is being covered up? And it's fine to say, well, those cases are so rare that you don't really have to worry about it. Look at all the wonderful, healthy municipalities who give healthy water to their citizens, until you happen to be the one in Flint, Michigan, or you happen to be the one in West Virginia, or Ontario, or Pennsylvania, or these other places that I've seen where they have water issues. Until it happens to be you and your family, it's fine to arbitrarily say there's no problem with it.
There is a problem, and the problem is once you actually start researching those cases and how many of them are, it is really scary. There's been a lot of news coverage, news programs, articles online that you can find that talk about the rarity versus the frequency versus the amount of cases that really happen with the toxic and poisoned city water. And once you look closely at the subject, those are really, really scary numbers.
Millions of Americans are consuming this chemical through their drinking water, okay? As many as 6 million Americans are exposed to this. In humans, PFAS have been linked to a wide range of illnesses, including birth defects, cancer, and immune system dysfunction.
7 million Americans receive tap water with levels of chromium-6 that are higher than the legal limit established by California. 10 ppb, which is the only state to enforce a maximum contaminant level.
And chromium-6 is the Erin Brockovich chemical that was so controversial and involved in her lawsuit. A 2016 study by Harvard found chromium-6 in 35 cities' water supplies.
But then, so this article was published by CNN, but then CNN is fake news, so maybe we shouldn't trust it. There's another one published by Scientific American, and it says,
it's not uncommon for people to drink tap water laced with 20 or 30 chemical contaminants. This water may be legal, but it raises serious health concerns.
So even with low levels of those chemicals in the tap water, if you drink it once or twice or for a month, you may not see a difference or an impact onto your health at all.
But I'm somebody who only drinks water. I will drink coffee and tea, which are made with water, but I do not drink soda or anything other than water. So it's completely pulsing through my body. Whatever I'm drinking, it's comprised, you said, 80% of me.
And if you're drinking that water for years and introducing all these chemicals into your body on a daily basis, after a while it has an effect. It creates all kinds of degenerative disease, including cancer. And it's just hard to deny that all those chemicals do have effect on our bodies.
We live in the richest country in the world, right? The most productive country in the world. And this is what we get in our tap water right now.
No, we can't afford to fix it, Anna. We're too busy spending over $1 trillion on a war we should have never started. So, no, we don't have money for education. We don't have money for your kids to have clean drinking water. We got to go spend it in war.
So now, to remain completely fair, What are the dangers and the downsides of drinking bottled water?
When you think about the finished product of a plastic bottle, you don't think about the process.
Most of the public does not know that their plastic materials are being made in petrochemical plants.
People think when they're drinking bottled water that they're getting a healthy product. They're not conditioned to think, well, maybe there's something in the plastic.
Well, of course, it's unfortunately not a black and white situation, and drinking bottled water is also, or may also be, not the best for you for several factors. First of all, Michael, you are right in your comments. It is burning a lot of fossil fuels to transport.
Plastic isn't good. I've told you I've been concerned about the if it's heated conditions, it's not good for the water to be sitting in those containers.
So that's number two. Number one is we are burning a lot of fuel to transport and manufacture the plastic that the water is contained in. Number three, what happens to the plastic bottles after they are emptied? Some of them are recyclable.
Well, what the water company that we use takes our water bottles back, refills them, and gives them back to us. We are not using new plastic every time.
At least this leads slowly to our conclusion of this episode. What should you do? And my answer to this, should you really stick to drinking tap water, or should you switch to drinking bottled water, or which is better? And my answer to that difficult question is you should do your own research. First of all, look at the area where you live. Look at how many chemical companies are around you, because all of those companies, not only chemical companies, any companies that manufacture on a large scale will dump something into the environment around you. And things in nature don't just disappear. Everything remains in the environment and eventually finds its way to your water supply and into your food.
Yes, they have levels that are safe to dump in the environment. I think no level is safe to dump or contaminate the air or whatever else, but it's just the way of life now.
And second of all, if you decide to switch to bottled water, find a company that you can trust, do a research about them, just like the one we're using. They are refilling the giant 5-gallon bottles that they're delivering to us. So at least, maybe, yes, eventually those big 5-gallon bottles will end up in a landfill or will end up somewhere. But at least they are in circulation for a long time before that happens. Way longer than the small bottles of water that you can buy in any grocery store.
Or I did look and see that Michael is from Canada, so maybe it's different there. But in the United States, bottled water companies are regulated by the FDA, and town water companies and municipality water companies are regulated by the EPA. So you have two different organizations checking on things. Another part about our home being well water, it's also older than the 70s, and some of the homes that are older than 70s have lead-lined pipes. So you really have to be careful and test your water.
So the conclusion of this discussion is, unfortunately, there is no easy answer to this problem, and there is no universal answer to this problem. All of you should really look into this, because it will have an effect on your health. It's the basic decision that you can make about your health. The water is a basic element of what we absolutely need to live, what our bodies need to live, and we have to drink it every day. Hope you guys enjoyed our little investigation into the water problem, and if you did, please leave a comment under this video and maybe tell one or two people about it so they can also view our channel and have some daily entertainment with us.
Thank you for your comment, Michael.
Thank you everybody for watching. We will see you tomorrow. Good night. Go ahead, talk about this. You read better than me.